The streets, stinking with blood. The imposing and surreal landscape. And the mystery buried deep within the fabric of the world. Those are the elements building the world of Bloodborne, beckoning through the city of Yharnam, the surrounding areas, and the secrets that lurk below. This world has a magic pool that can capture many of those who dare waking up in its insanity. But to truly understand what is so fascinating about it, one must go beyond the facade and take in the details that construct this marvel. Hello travelers, my name is Angel. Today I would like to take you on a journey through madness and through wonder. One throughout the simple will of common men, and throughout the desire of those who feel like they can challenge the gods themselves. Throughout the hints that were hidden in plain sight in order to construct incredible imagery. Allow me to take you on a walk across Bloodborne.
Oh, yes. Pale blood. Well, you've come to the right place. Yharnam is the home of blood ministration. You need only unravel its mystery. But where's an outsider like yourself to begin? Easy, with a bit of Yharnam blood of your own. But first, you'll need a contract.
You found yourself a hunter.
Our journey begins in the place opening the hunt. A weary house with hospital beds. An old man speaking to us about the blood, a subject we will develop more and more as our journey progresses. Then we are free to roam the world. And at this point, the first important detail already becomes obvious. It does so through its absence. Guidance. In the beginning, we are only armed with few ideas to aid our need for guidance. But these few are enough to push us forward. Let us take a look at those initial guiding lights. Firstly, a scribbled note. Seek pale blood to transcend the hunt. Mentioned by the mysterious man we saw a short while ago, pale blood seems to be a term of some importance. But no one seems to know what pale blood means really. A vague term that means nothing right now. It will continue to be elusive and only show its true meaning to those who embrace Bloodborne's world to its fullest. Secondly, a hunter. An identity to cling on, spoken to us by a beautiful voice, perfectly contrasting the bad dream we wake up in. This identity is reinforced as we see the first monstrous beast eating the corpse of some unfortunate souls who probably had an awful fate. We are the hunters. The ones destined to slay these beasts and to bring vengeance to those people. We've seen earlier that beasts have no strength against us, as one burned at our feet when we were not even capable of moving. So, guided by the little creatures who gave us an understanding of our moveset, surely this will be just another glorious victory. After our first of many deaths, we wake up in the hunter's dream, a location we will discuss in more detail later. For now, We are concerned with what does coming here tell us about our identity as a hunter of beasts. A hunter is not invincible, quite weak in fact without proper care. One can be the predator of beasts, but can easily become the prey. But it also tells us death is not the ending for our hunter. It is just another pushback. If we persevere, we will eventually live out to the name of the hunter, and our prey will be slaughtered. A motif we will encounter again and again. Also, here we meet Gehrman, an important character for later. He now gives us a choice.
Aha! You must be the new hunter. Welcome to the hunter's dream. This will be your home for now. I am Gehrman, friend to you hunters. You're sure to be in a fine haze about now, but don't think too hard about all of this. Just go out and kill a few beasts. It's for your own good. You know, it's just what hunters do. You'll get used to it.
One option is to accept our identity as a hunter, as it is, without putting too much thought into it, and to enjoy the simple cathartic pleasure of our role. Alternatively, if we observe the little ones in the corner, they give our actions meaning for the future. To hold the source of the spreading scourge of the beasts. At this point, our minds translate this as an ending of the nightmare and means to spare from suffering many people. So that may be our goal, to be a hero. This world holds no heroes. Whatever the choice of each individual hunter, that problem will be explored better by our hunter Jones in his diary. What is of interest for us now is that our little friends can help us get equipped with all a hunter needs to succeed in their work: a weapon and a gun. Our outfit is still unchanged, and looking at it, we will be able to identify its lack of familiarity for the place we found ourselves in. So, we are an outsider, one who also happened to have lost their memory. This securing the idea that the only identity we can rely on moving further is the one of a hunter. We can travel back to the place we found death only a few minutes ago and take our revenge on the beast that killed us, making our first successful hunt. And then, as we open the door, the third and final guiding light shows its face: the atmosphere, which we'll be able to explore in depth through the first major area in our journey. The atmosphere of this place is my favorite in the entire game. The architecture, the sounds, the plethora of stories told by the small details hidden on the streets. Those all contribute to the magic that this place hooks you with the moment you open the great door. What makes this place so special? Well, dear traveler, to answer that, I would like to take you to a place that should be more familiar to you. Florence, a city of your world, in the time of the Renaissance. Why this place? Because it birthed many of the motifs that make central Yharnam, and frankly, the entire landscape of Bloodborne's world, so captivating. Renaissance, or rebirth, is considered in the history of your humankind the moment when the cultural activity in Europe was bestowed a well-needed new life and perspective. Before it stood the Middle Ages, also known as the Dark Ages, a period of degradation for all that meant human evolution on the continent. The Church controlled the entire Western world. In its reign, all voices who dared question their orders and teachings were silenced. From that age rose the Gothic architectural style, a thing that also has developed in Yharnam. Seems to be a thing coming naturally when a church takes over. And that is not coincidence. The pivotal design of the Gothic style is the pointed arch, a structure that allows for the creation of grandiose buildings that are bathed in light on the inside. The implications are subtle but meaningful. Whereas the light is meant to symbolize the warmth of God and forgiveness for those inside, the massive and almost threatening exterior was a perfect message of terror for those outside to receive. The architecture and its meaning, it's not all we needed from this place, however. What we need is to understand the evolution happening in this period. Initially, there was the church, with its Gothic style, and the church will remain a strong influence for this entire era. If we look at many of the most fabulous pieces of art from this time, many depict biblical events. There is the Sistine Chapel, painted by artist Michelangelo, that depicts the making of the world by God. Then there is the Last Supper, by the genius Leonardo da Vinci. And so are many more, proof of the still persistent influence of the Church in this period. The story of the Renaissance is a beautiful story, but one for another time. The important point for now is that even the most brilliant minds of this period started by conforming to the norms that dominated the world for almost a millennia. But, as the movement grew, the mentality and culture transformed, and the art mirrors these changes. It started to draw inspiration from further and further back in time, with paintings like the Athenian School by Raphael, looking back to a democracy and to ideas long gone. It started to incorporate pagan ideas, such as a version for the crossing of the river Styx in The Last Judgment by Michelangelo. So, as the movement grew, its inspiration widened, and the art became more and more varied as a result. The culmination of this process is our point of interest: Mannerism. Mannerism is the artistic movement attributed to the period of late Renaissance. It's the current that was birthed in the shadow of Leonardo, Raphael, and Michelangelo. Wrong story. Leonardo, Raphael, and Michelangelo. Leonardo da Vinci died in 1519, and Raphael died 1 year later in 1520. And then, all new artists who wanted to make art needed to keep the high standard of these legends. So, simply creating the same imagery using the same themes they did will not suffice. They will be creating just worse versions of what was already created. Michelangelo might have thought the same in regards to himself at the time. Still alive and well, and he'll continue to be for another 35 years, dying only in 1564. Seeking affirmation in a competitive landscape, or a way to better themselves, artists will incorporate more and more unique elements into their art. And, in order to understand what the effect of the process was, let us look at a very specific art piece. The Erythraean Sibyl. What the picture displays is a prophet, originating in classical mythology. A mythological figure twisted by the imagination of folklore. A perfect candidate for mannerism. Look at the features of this character. The childly head onto a mature body, the overly developed musculature, the eerie scenery, the provocative statues on each side. This, unlike the art previously created in this period, is abandoning reality. Before, we were looking at depictions of important moments, but crafted through the lens of what could have been real. Now, in an effort to stand out, as the real became more and more perfected, art took this surreal direction. And that'll be enough art theory for today. A fascinating topic for sure, but not one to be delved any deeper. Back into Yharnam, we can think about what we learned. An architectural style meant to be imposing and grandiose, preying on core human emotions, and the idea of creation that hides within it an uncanny feeling, a surreal feeling. While those who journeyed to Yharnam would know to what extent this uncanniness can go. For now, let us limit ourselves to the subtlety of the main city. When we first ascend the ladder, just outside the clinic, we see the city behind us. Majestic, but also corrupted in a sense. Like its sole existence has been bent by a dark filter. Just like the art of the Manorists, the city of Yharnam feels inspired by reality, but also seems to have drifted off at one point, like something changed beyond belief. The imposing Gothic style is doubled down by this sensation of mystery that screams the reality itself got in some way broken. And that feeling is maintained not only in the look of the city, but also in the poor souls inhabiting this domain. Coming back to the start, while the werewolf clearly screamed beastie the moment you looked at it, venturing through the streets of Yharnam, all the beasts we encounter will seem to be regular people, capable of speech, and with a clear disdain for us, the hunter. These people will scream at us as they charge. Should we decide to speak with Gilbert, another outsider stationed near the first lamp, he will tell us that Yharnamites are not very welcoming to our kind. So that might explain their hostility. But still, in their behavior there is that extra range that makes them feel much more beastly than a regular human should. They still charge without restraint, despite us being the better hunter and slaying them one by one. Through the burning of the beasts at the stake, it's proven they hunt as well. So it should make sense for us to be their allies. But capacity such as parallels, or basically any rational thought, seems to be out of their ability. Like the bloodlust took over even their most basic human instincts and mental facilities. Additionally, knocking at the door of civilians who are still awake, we see some people still coherent in speech and, while showing no sympathy for us, still don't feel as mad as the people on the streets. The same outsider, Gilbert, also gives us the name of an important institution controlling blood administration, a thing we've seen to have some importance in Yharnam. The name of this institution? The Healing Church. And isn't it such a fitting name for all we've seen so far? There is a crescendo in our exploration of Yharnam. A crescendo in the beasthood we encounter. First, we'll meet only seemingly mad people. Then, we will encounter some proper beasts. Then, some sweet and lovely doggos. And the final note of this crescendo will be met at the end of the bridge. A huge creature with hideous, twisted horns, matted fur, and a malnourished figure. That is the description given to it by the wiki. A wonderful battle ensues that tells us what commitment a hunter has taken. Small human fighters slaying huge creatures. And after slaughtering our first real prey, we will receive a Sword Hunter badge. The description of the item is stating, clerics transformed into the most hideous beasts. What does this imply for all the people we previously seen? And more importantly, for all the beasts we slaughtered? The end point for our journey in Yharnam is the tomb of Odeon. While we don't have any clue whom Odeon may be, not he is the important actor here. For, standing in the middle of the area, chopping at dead bodies, is Father Gascoigne.
Beasts all over the shop. You'll be one of them, sooner or later.
The battle with him is both a thrill and also sums up perfectly everything about the world so far. First, a battle with someone who is not only still a human, but also a hunter like us. The frenzy of this place can affect everyone, including hunters. And who's to say that while we were murdering the people of the town back then, a hunter wasn't himself caught in this frenzy. Second, we see for ourselves something we presumed so far, the transformation of a man. Losing the battle with himself, Gascoigne abandons his last straws of humanity and becomes a fully developed beast. But is the beast form any different from what he already became before he came here? Was he a beast before turning into one? We can also encounter people close to Gascoigne, and we can even find the corpse of his dead wife, Viola, near the place where the man she once loved forsaken his humanity. In this grim picture, what is there worth being a hero for? Maybe, once the scourge of the beast is slain, for the people remaining, there will be a dawn. And as those thoughts haunt us, we make our way back to the lamp, back into the place where hunters come to rest. The Hunter's Dame is a very elusive place. Interpretations about it are varied, and no one really knows what its ultimate purpose is. Shrouded in mystery, we can only know about it what little the set piece gives us. First of all, it is a place where many hunters rested before. There is a big number of graves sitting in its place, and later we find that each represents a hunter that once was an inhabitant of the dream, but whom moved on. Whatever moving on may mean. Here, it is also important to mention the mechanics of the hunter journeying through Bloodborne. First, the insight. As he travels through the world, slaying beasts and discovering secrets, the hunter will continue to increase his knowledge in the Eldritch Truth. The Eldritch Truth is a term describing the mystery of Yharnam, but also speaks of the mystery of reality itself, and of the place humans have in said reality. As this knowledge increases, certain truths become available to the hunter. The first and most important of which comes after the first discovery of anything out of this world. Upon seeing such madness, returning to the dream will animate the wooden doll Yharnam mentions in your first encounter. A soothing presence in the midst of all chaos of this world. The doll will be there to talk to you, to help you increase your strength, and to ultimately make your life during the hunt a little more bearable. And as one of the most important parts is wisdom, the other is the blood. We know the town of Yharnam is the source of a very powerful type of blood, and that we also have access to in our journey, as it is our means of healing. The blood vial reads, special blood used in ministration, restores health. Once a patient has had their blood ministered, a unique but common treatment in Yharnam, successive infusions recall the first, and are all the more invigorating for it. No surprise most Yharnamites are heavy users of blood. So, not only a treatment, the blood is also a substance offering euphoria to the people, making it a substance requiring constant consumption. Indeed, another consumable's description, the pungent blood cocktail, states, in Yharnam, they produce more blood than alcohol, as the former is more intoxicating. Also, there are the blood echoes, symbol of the advancement of the hunter, which can be used to increase all attributes needed for a successful hunt, proving further the power of the blood in this world. It seems the hunter's dream is the place of origins for the little creatures that stood with us from the beginning. Little ones, as they are named by the doll.
Ah, the little ones, inhabitants of the dream. They find hunters like yourself, worship and serve them. Speak words they do not. But still, aren't they sweet?
They also are quirky creatures, finding fun in doing cosplays. The doll is right, aren't they cute? But also, in a prayer you can hear the doll say, she names them the will of the ancient.
O Flora of the moon, of the dream, O little ones, O fleeting will of the ancients, let the hunter be safe, let him find comfort, and let this dream, his captor, foretell a pleasant awakening. Be one day a fond, distant memory.
Whomever this term may refer to, we do not know, but surely they seem pale. Back into the waking world. We may now move past the tomb of Odeon and enter Cathedral Ward. If we were to look at a map of Yharnam, this will be the center of the world. First, we will arrive at Odeon Chapel, a place hosted by a very friendly looking fellow. We will come back to him in a bit. But before that, taking a quick glimpse through the round plaza, we can see this place is guarded by some very peculiar creatures. Humanoid, seeming more strategic and meticulous in their movement, wielding magic, wearing clothes that are akin to the ones from the people of the church. Very interesting. Also, there are these friendly looking giants. But it is very interesting that, while still resembling beastly characteristics, these folks differ in many ways from the Yharnamites we encounter and from the many beasts we are still to. Their presence is different, almost like they come from a different place. The theme has changed from Central Yharnam, that seemed basically abandoned by the church. Idea reinforced by a note there saying, "When the hunt began, the healing church left us, blocking a great bridge to Cathedral Ward." But here, the influence of the church is palpable. People in this place worship the church as their ultimate saviors. And that is to be expected, as we also know from Gilbert, the friendly stranger from the window, that
but if it's blood you're interested in, you should try the Healing Church. The church controls all knowledge on blood ministration and all varieties of blood. Across the valley to the east of Yharnam lies the town of the Healing Church, known as the Cathedral Ward. And deep within Cathedral Ward is the old Grand Cathedral, the birthplace of the Healing Church's special blood. Or so they say.
Next, let's talk about the folks whom we can meet around Yharnam. Firstly, there is the friendly looking dude in Odeon Chapel. Well, friendly may be a bit much, but despite his appearance, he is probably the kindest soul in the entire world we are traveling through. He wants to offer aid to those whom can be saved, an intention the hunter probably shares. The same way a doctor in the clinic we awoke in seems to want. Only something in her voice seemed a lot more misleading than the sincerity of the folk in Odeon Chapel. Yusefka is a whole other story. Further on, we have the people we can actually save. Firstly, an elderly woman living in Central Yharnam. The old lady will scoff at you for being responsible as a hunter for the state of the city. This only reinforcing the value hunters have in this town and how beast hunting is such an important task. But you can save her, and despite never being truly grateful, saving someone for when daylight comes is something one should be proud of. Down in the Cathedral Ward, we can save Ariana, a woman with very peculiar occupations in her day-to-day life, whom decided to take the hunt off. She is also a source of special blood, capable of healing the player. Why is that? Well, Ariana, according to her high-class looking dress, seems to have special origins. Her blood is described as forbidden by the Healing Church, for reasons that will soon become obvious. Near Ariana's place, we can save another man, one of her neighbors, a man with a very skeptical behavior. He will question everything around him. His refusal in listening to advice makes sending him to the right place tricky. If we allow ourselves to get kidnapped by these handsome fellows, hunters only in name, we will be able to save another person in their origin place, Yahargul. Yahargul is a place hiding many secrets. Some we will touch on, But for now, we will find out that many people have been kidnapped for experiments by these brutes, and we can still save one of them. Nan Adela. A devotee to the church, to the bottom of her heart. She won't even talk to us if we don't wear proper attire. Should we meet her while in the clothes of the church, she will take our advice and go to Odeon Chapel. Like Ariana, we can also use Adela's blood for our ministration. In her case, the reason is clear. As a nun, her blood was stripped of impurity until she arrived to the title of Blood Saint. We now know how the church manages to reproduce this substance, the blood. We still don't know what it is. Next, we have a person we meet in Forbidden Wood. Oh well, better not. So now we have Gascoigne's daughter. We'd better move on. Alfred is not someone who needs our aid, but rather is an ally. A hunter for an old order of the church, the Executioners. He is the first man to make sense of the politics of this world.
And the tomb of the gods, carved out below Yharnam, should be familiar to every hunter. Well, once a group of young Byrgenwerth scholars discovered a holy medium deep within the tomb. This led to the founding of the Healing Church and the establishment of blood healing.
He tells us it all started with the Tomb of the Gods, discovered by some scholars, whom then decided to form this organization in the name of their healing medium. He also gives us the name of the scholar body from which the church was birthed, Byrgenwerth. According to him, nowadays the college is forbidden territory and also kept hidden by a password only few know. Meeting him later in Cathedral Ward will also prompt him to tell us about the story of his hunt, one of vengeance.
Ah, there's something I want to tell you. A bit of wisdom from the eminent master Logarius. Once, a scholar betrayed his fellows at Byrgenwerth and brought forbidden blood back with him to Cainhurst Castle. It was there that the first of the inhuman Vile Bloods was born. The Vile Bloods are fiendish creatures who threaten the purity of the church's blood healing. The ruler of the Vile Bloods is still alive today, and so, to honor my master's wishes, I search for the path to Cainhurst Castle.
Forbidden blood, you say? Where have we heard that before? That explains why Ariana's blood has special properties. Vile bloods. Corrupted hunters residing in their isolated castle, hidden from the view. And executioners, church hunters willing to kill all pagan who do not obey their rule. Really makes you think back to the story of the Dark Ages, doesn't it? The last place we'll visit before moving on is the Grand Cathedral. This place is special for the devotees of the Healing Church and probably for the members of the Healing Church themselves, as it holds one of the greatest treasures of their heritage. So sacred, in fact, probably most don't even know its origin. Before analyzing the altar, however, we have to focus on the bigger problem ahead of us, which is the head of the church, Amelia, who just succumbed to the same fever that seems to consume tonight all the good people of Yharnam. After the battle is over, we receive her pendant, explaining the vicars to be leaders of the healing church. But it also talks about an old adage.
Master Willem, I've come to bid you farewell.
Oh, I know. You think now to betray me.
No, but you will never listen. I tell you, I will not forget our adage.
We are born of the blood, made men by the blood, undone by the blood. Our eyes are yet to open.
Fear the old blood. I must take my leave.
By the gods, fear it, Lawrence.
That vision, dear traveler, was the moment when the church was formed. When scholars of Byrgenwerth decided to break from their old tutelage and found a new organization to use the blood as a means of treatment and in time dominance. This point will come to be known among the hunters of the dream as the Schism, a name probably chosen by one Redgrave, at least to the best of my knowledge. But the old master of the college, Willem, did not see it as a split, but as a betrayal. Adage is defined by the Oxford Dictionary as a well-known phrase expressing a general truth about people or the world. And not only an adage, their adage, their portion of wisdom. To fear the old blood. Why would that be? Maybe you figure it out already. If not, we will see next what it really means for the blood administration to go out of hand. Welcome to your first peek into the hell pit this world has to offer, traveler. It will get worse from here, so this is the place to help you get accustomed to it. The same old note stating how Cathedral Ward was isolated from the patronage of the church hinted at the fate of all Yharnam, as all Yharnam burned to the ground that moonlit night. Moonlight will become a more and more important part of the tale as the night moves on. But we are here to focus on how literal this code actually is. Because this part of the town was really burned to the ground on that night. We can see it in the half-burned wooden houses, in the smoke filling the streets, in the broken brick walls, and most of all, we can see it in the burned beasts that are crucified everywhere. Truly the stuff of nightmares, but it is in fact only the aftermath of an unsuccessful hunt. If any of you took a longer look at the map back when we looked at it earlier, you would have noticed that old Yharnam is not offering too much in opening us to new travels. It is only tied to Cathedral Ward and Yahar'gul, both places we already saw. And so, why would the hunter go into a beast-infected mess, leading to a dead end? Well, for this journey we can thank our old friend Gehrman, who informs us that in the old Yharnam lies an artifact we should take an interest in.
The moon is close. It will be a long hunt tonight. If the beasts loom large and threaten to crush your spirits, seek a holy chalice, as every hunter before you has. A holy chalice will reveal the tomb of the gods, where hunters partake in communion. Most of the holy chalices lie deep within the tomb of the gods, and the few that found their way to the surface were lost again in the hands of men. But if the old hunter tales remain true, one of the holy chalices is worshipped in the valley hamlet. Yet the town is in disarray. It was burned and abandoned for fear of the scourge, home now only to beasts. The perfect place for a hunter, wouldn't you say?
A way to enter the Tomb of the Gods mentioned by Alfred. Maybe another hint into uncovering this world's mystery. The chalice is located in a place called the Church of the Good Chalice. A very suggestive name, should you ask me. And it's protected by a very aggressive and relentless beast. The blood-starved beast. Unlike others, we cannot say too much about this beast's form identity. From its physical features, we may infer that whoever had the unpleasure to become this beast had a fate worse than most. Its skin was peeled and hanging from its back. Its skinny posture combined with the title starved proves that it hasn't really had the best nutritional care. It also has poisonous claws and if threatened enough can emit poisonous spores into the air. So, a creature that got its skin peeled, filled with poison and then left alone to starve to death. Probably this creature hates everything, including its own existence. And who could blame it? It is also a sign of the presence of human experiments in old Yharnam. And to further this point, in the church near the entrance of old Yharnam, there is another beast, similarly assorted, tied in chains, dead. I can't say I would like to have the fate of the alive one more than the dead one. But a keen eye can see the motif here, of these beasts being present in the churches of old Yharnam. And we just happen to know a church organization liking to experiment with substances. And then there's the guy with the big gun. When first entering old Yharnam, the hunter notices a message on the big closed door connecting this portion of town with Cathedral Ward. Said message reads, "Town is long abandoned. Hunters not wanted here." A simple message, but it implies something interesting. There is someone actually capable of not only thinking, but writing as well. And one may assume it to be the church, but into a place where the hunt did not end happily. Why would the church not encourage hunters to keep hunting? Indeed, they would be the most encouraged people to be here, should they be available. But the answer to this comes very quickly, as we are greeted by a voice as soon as we step foot in old Yharnam.
"You there! Hunter! Didn't you see the warning? Turn back at once. Old Yharnam, burned and abandoned by men, is now home only to beasts. They are of no harm to those above. Turn back, or the hunter will face the hunt."
If a hunter does not comply with the request of leaving, and what hunter would, the voice will start shooting his merciless onslaught at us. Running from it is a bit of a hassle. This is the Jura, a hunter who swore protection towards the beasts of old Yharnam, and who rightfully sees a person that spent probably the entire night killing every single thing that moved in sight, a threat to his mission. We can go up to the tower where he and his gun reside, in doing so noticing the hunter attire he wears, and unceremoniously eat him off the tower and off the face of this world. In a very beautiful twist, however, a hunt between us and him is not necessary. If we actually mind our own businesses and don't hunt the beasts of old Yharnam, we can come back later and the onslaught of the gun stops. Climbing now to the Jura, willing for a different interaction.
Well, well, how did you get in here? It's no matter. What brings you to old Yharnam? I've no interest in matters further up, but you must not disturb this place. The beasts do not venture above, and mean no harm to anyone. If you still insist on hunting them, then I will hunt you first. You understand me? Yes, very good. I no longer dream, but I was once a hunter too. There's nothing more horrific than a hunt. In case you fail to realize, the things you hunt, they're not beasts. They're people. One day you will see. It's time you got going. But first, a farewell gift. I have no use for it anyway.
From this, we learn two more important things to piece together our puzzle. 1. Despite Alfred earlier presenting himself as a fellow hunter, he knew nothing about the hunter's dream. The Jura does and actually put emphasis on the dream. This tells us not all hunters go to the hunter's dream, but that there are certain hunters specifically chosen by the dream. And as we know right now, our hunter and the Jura are the only ones. Maybe there are others, but who's to say? The second thing the Jura confirms to us is that all beasts are in fact people transformed. And reading through the description of the antidote item, the picture starts becoming very clear. A disease called ashen blood ravaged the streets of old Yharnam, and while classical medication was ministered, it could only provide short-term relief. Indeed, only one solution remained: the old blood. But this was not without consequence, as such high ministration eventually led to disaster. As the text of the antidote continues to read, the ashen blood ailment eventually triggered the spread of the beastly scourge. But nowhere is stated that ashen blood is the cause, only the trigger. Because the old blood was, in the end, the thing that tied all strings together. And it gives us a pretty compelling picture as we leave old Yharnam. Later on in our journey, we will find the attire for higher ranking church members. The white church set, worn by doctors of the healing church, has a very peculiar description stating, attire of special church doctors. These doctors are superiors to the black preventive hunters and specialists in experimentally backed blood ministration and the scourge of the beasts. They believe that medicine is not a means of treatment, but rather a method for research, and some knowledge can only be obtained by exposing oneself to sickness. We don't have enough evidence to accuse the church for creating the Ashen Blood disease in order to have a place where they could condone their experiments. But what we can say with certainty, based on what we know, is that certain scholars coming from Byrgenwerth College coming to the town of Yharnam with a substance capable of healing any disease. Radical and caring more for their research than for the well-being of human life. This gave them the room to control the town and its population and to condone their sick experiments. Until it all backfired, their experiments came to life in the most horrific of ways, and eventually the healing church needed to lock themselves out from the rest of the town with their most devoted followers, tossing aside the dying and suffering population. The Hunter Orders were created at some point, maybe as an earlier measure to control the scourge of the beasts, and later become supported by the contractors coming from faraway lands to get treatment with the miraculous substance. But ultimately, those were insufficient as well, leaving the world in the state we see today. And all of this still leaves us with one final question. What is the Old Blood?
Byrgenwerth, blasphemous murderers, blood-crazed fiends.
The college where, as Alfred said, everything could be traced back to Byrgenwerth. And indeed, here is where we'll really be able to start piecing together what happened to this world. First of all, it must be mentioned that Alfred was also right about how hard it is to discover these forbidden grounds. Firstly, a hunter would have to travel to the altar in Grand Cathedral. There, they will hear the adage held by the scholars of Byrgenwerth, one we also heard as our travels through the world occurred today. Once the adage is known, a new pathway from Cathedral Ward becomes available. From the round plaza, there is an exit leading down a staircase, at the end of which lies a door. The door is blocked by password, and the door handler is a person you cannot really bribe. But knowing the password grants access to the maze that hides Byrgenwerth, the Forbidden Woods. Getting lost through the dark shadows of the trees in this place is almost inevitable. Paths twisting from another path, secrets held in the shadows, and the plethora of creatures wishing to make you their next meal. There is a village in the forest. As one would expect, the people haven't been exempt from the scourge of the beasts. And if the passing through the woods is a feat unto itself, arriving at the gates of the college, one would meet the shadows of Yharnam, creatures guarding the college, or something else maybe. Well, whatever they may guard, those who rise to the challenge are sure to discover. After managing to leave the woods behind us, it is time we actually cross the gates and enter the place where we are to find some answers. Before that, however, we need to go a bit into the dungeons. The Chalice Dungeons are massive structures under the town of Yharnam, built by an ancient civilization called the Tumerians. These people understood the eldritch truth looming over this world, but based on the beasts we are so frequently encountering in the depth of these dungeons, they have succumbed to the same scourge that ultimately doomed the town of Yharnam as well. And yet, the scholars discovered something here. It is never actually made clear what But whatever it was, it made them realize something. Gods are the most merciful thing in the world, I think, is the inability of the human mind to correlate all its contents. We live on a placid island of ignorance, in the midst of black seas of infinity, and it was not meant that we should voyage far. The scientists, each straining in its own direction, have hitherto harmed us little. But someday, the piecing together of dissociated knowledge will open up such terrifying vistas of reality and of our frightful position therein, that we shall either go mad from the revelation, or flee from the deadly light into the peace and safety of a new dark age. H.P. Lovecraft. A massive inspiration for the series, this philosophy holds the truth for what is to come afterward in the story of Bloodborne. Impossible to understand plots and beings, designed by their very core to be maddening, should one try to put them together. As the night goes on, the hunter will see the truth of a ritual that brought this particular night to such a catastrophic state, will manage to uncover the great ones hidden in the world, will travel through the nightmare realms and lose his mind at their frontier. Should he choose to, he may even bring some peace to those tormented for long. Ultimately, one could even make sense of the hunter's dream. Maybe this world could be better in the end. But those are mysteries for another day. For now, this is where the journey ends. The hunter who explored this world, Jones Wilson, will leave his diary on the channel in the following month. If this mystery captivated you, and you want to delve deeper, you can come back and see what final answers his journey arrives at. Alternatively, you can just go on this adventure yourself, should you have the resources for such a task. It is intensive and tensing, but for those perseverant, will be worth the while. May the winds guide your path toward what is meant for you, traveler. Goodbye, and I hope to see you again, alive and well.